Because it's Hashem said Kitab twice. That's why. Also, because that's the only day Rabbi came available.
And also, that's the only day Levi's available, and also that's the only day Charna's available, and also it's the only day Shmuel Chaim's available, and also...
No, I'm available every day.
And it's Hashgacha Pratis. So
and also it's Hashgacha Pratis, and also it's the only day the Rabbi's available, and...
And also, we're all Are we going to say everybody's name in the world?
And also it's the only day...
all right, let's check the sound on this. Give me a second. I want to go to...
That's all
It is? Oh, please
And
take
also it's
it.
the only day that my voice is really, really obnoxious, and it's going throughout the internet.
Okay, we're going to start.
There we go.
Okay?
That's pretty loud.
We're gonna start.
Charna's available, and also it's the only day...
There we go. Sorry. Turn the volume down. Okay.
And also, this is available. And also, this
People on
All right.
Zoom, please mute. Please mute until you have something to say.
Sure. Hang on.
You're going to get it.
All right, this is the third in the series. We've been talking about freedom because we're entering Zman Chayrusanu in a week, the time of our freedom. A little intro, we had some conversation over the last 3 weeks about freedom, and we put on the table there are two kinds of freedom. There's a freedom from something, like Yetzias Mitzrayim, going out of Egypt, and there's a freedom to something, like to serve Hashem on the mountain. And we had some side conversation, although relevant, about what kind of freedom is it if you're serving Hashem. How is it that service can be Hashem? Can be freedom. And in terms of our discussion, it actually turns out that's the key. The key to freedom is to give yourself away to something, for a cause. After all, that's why we were created, right? Right, we were created for something, right? To enlighten the world, to make our lives light with godliness, etc., etc. So Chayrus, which thank you very much. I'm very thoughtful.
I mean,
Just don't disturb us. Try not to. So the word in Hebrew is Zman Chayrusanu, is also the name, the word, the derivative of the word, or exact letters of the word, that appear about the luchos. The two luchos are called, the luchos are engraved. Chorus al haluchos, engraved. So freedom, which you might think initially is unbounded capability to do whatever the heck you want, is really not freedom. We spoke about that. Untethered freedom leads to anarchy. And on the other hand, when government is unfettered, it leads to tyranny. So you have to combine these two notions of freedom and engraved on the luchos. In other words, there has to be service. And service that comes through free choice. One of our fellow students here pointed out that Bechira, free choice, is also the letters, has in it the letters of Chevra, which is freedom. What else that we discussed before we jump into it?
that Galus Mitzrayim was the opening for and the connect. Basically, it paved the way for the connection, for the possibility of the future Geula. It was the opening.
The opening. Because we spent a lot of time, and we will spend more tonight, on the prophecy of the future that says, just like in your days of going out of Egypt, I will show you miracles. So the future redemption is compared to the old Geula from Mitzrayim redemption, even though comparatively the miracles of the splitting of the Red Sea are nothing, we're told, compared to the miracles of the future. But it is the opening of the channel. And it says somewhere, Kol haskalas kasha. All beginnings are difficult. It certainly was difficult, but once the channel is open, it gets easier. Even though along the way the channel can close up, right? So you got to strive again to open it, etc., etc. Good. Anything else that's worth mentioning here?
Oh, well, we have to remember how we went out of Mitzrayim 3 times a day.
3 times a day, right?
We mention it 3 times a day.
Right. Now, why do we have to mention? Why is it so significant? Anybody? Why is it so important to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim not only every day, but let's take that, just every day, even though it's 3 times a day? Why do you need to? Anybody? Well, why is it important to mention going out of Egypt multiple times in a day or every day? B'chol yom v'yom.
because we have to like remember, we have to stay centered, we have to stay keep our minds focused on understanding how we got here, why we're here, and what we're doing.
Right. That's a good answer.
Or
And also-
or basically the. Go ahead, Shmuchain. Actually, you have an idea?
And also, we should remember how much miracles Hashem did for us, and that like the power that He can do.
Right. Shmuel Chaim has added a little something. It isn't just about remembering the past. It's what Hashem can do in the moment. And that's actually the key to it. The idea of remembering, we learned this, the idea of remembering going out of Egypt every day is because each and every day, in the present tense, a person has challenges to overcome, Meitzorim, limitations to get out of. Each and every day, from the time you get up in the morning and push yourself to get out of bed, to all the things that happen in the day that have a tendency to perhaps get you down, aggravated, whatever, enervated. These are all Mitzrayim. And therefore, every day a person not only has an opportunity, but is obligated to figure out what do I need to do in this moment to get myself free of these shackles. And not only free of these shackles, but what will I choose that freedom, what will I do with that freedom that I have? Beautiful.
Right. Then we went further with something along the lines of the Yetzer Hara, or the Nefesh Bahamis. When taking like klipa or taking something bad, there's a difference between eskafia and eshapcha, right? So turning away or pushing away the bad, or fighting with it essentially. And the other one is like just transforming the bad. So there's the level of Galus Mitzrayim gave us that. I think this is what we were discussing. No, didn't it give us the power to overcome the challenges, like you're saying? And then there's the stages of the first you overcome it, and then you transform it.
Beautiful. Right. Anybody want to say anything else? Okay, so that actually gets us to exactly where we are in Ois Vav. We're going to talk about Iskafia and Hischapcha. Subjugation of the negativity and transformation of the negativity. And every week, for those of you who are new to the program, we ask people at the table if anyone would like to read. And so I'm asking, would anyone like to read?
Read what?
Where are we?
Read the Maimer, Ois Vav, in the Rebbe's Maimer. That's the Maimer I handed out to you.
Up to
It's on page Kuf Nun Aleph. Yeah. Ois Vav Vehine.
Want to go to Vara?
Sure.
Okay.
Nice and loud and clear.
That's one thing I'm good at.
We don't have to worry about that
You don't
exactly.
have to ask me to do that. That's natural.
Okay.
Okay. V'hine. V'hine af shebechinas is hapchahi b'chlalos. Should I translate or?
Of course.
Okay.
What do you want me to translate?
And
Whatever you want.
therefore,
The category of things,
okay.
the category of things which we call his hapcha.
In general,
Now, what's his hapcha?
the transformation.
Transformation, to turn it
Iskafia
around.
is
You have to
holding
to
back.
take negativity and turn it inside out. Go ahead.
b'chlalos. Na'alas harbe yoser mebechinas iskafia.
In general, the ability to turn something into transform something is generally much greater than to just subjugate something, right? When you subjugate something, you still have some kind of interest in that thing, but you're saying, no, no, no. Transformation says, I'm using that thing, and it's for something. I've transformed its identity so that the power in it, instead of being something that's negative for me, is not only neutral, it's positive. It's going to lift me up. I just want to say the one metaphor that we used here last time is the metaphor of putting a saddle on a stallion.
Right.
Right? A stallion.
The yoke on an ox.
The yoke on an ox. Good one. The yoke on an ox. The ox is wild. Its nature is to have, very basic animal instincts, and we have an animal soul. And to the extent that we don't do anything with that, we are animals, pure and simple. Human animals, we have intellect. That's it's a function of the human animal. But our intellect can be used for animalistic attractions as well, as everybody knows. You don't have to go into it. Or we can use out the power of the animal. That's what the boy is alluding to. It's a saying of Chazal that you get a lot of produce from the power of an ox. If you take your animal and strap it to your godly soul, it can empower the godly. So go ahead. And so from that perspective, it seems that, and it is true, that transformation is like a better thing. It's a more powerful thing than just the beginning stage, which is pushing it away.
Okay. אף על פי כן יש גם מעלה בבחינת אסקאפיה ולגבי בבחינת אסהפכה.
Nevertheless, you want me to translate?
Nevertheless, okay, fine. Nevertheless, there's a mila, there's an advantage in the way of iskafia that garbs itself in the way of
Not the garbs.
iskafia. What?
Not a garbs. There's an advantage of subjugation over transformation.
Okay.
That's what we're gonna learn. Even though in general, to transform is the ultimate, there's an advantage of subjugation over transformation.
Okay. וכמובן, ממה שכתב,
As is understood from
ממה
the
שכתב בתניא, העניין עבד אלוקים הוא דווקא כשהוא כופר ומשנה הטבע שלו.
Right. So to be a servant of Elohim, a servant of God, which by the way, many names of God. Elohim is the name of God that refers to the tzimtzum, the contraction,
Right.
the darkness. So to serve Elohim means to find Ayved, to work, like work the skins. The skins are hard at first, and they need to be made pliable until you can make a coat out of the skins. So the darkness, the hardness, needs to be turned into a softness. So, and when do you do this? To serve Elohim, in other words, to see godliness in the contraction, in the tzimtzum, is specifically when you subjugate, kaifer, force, right? Imagine tanning skins. That's exactly the metaphor that's all the time. These skins of the animal have no resemblance to the skin that comes into a beautiful first coat. So many processes go in there. So there's a kneading of it and a softening of it until you change the teva, you change its nature. So that's just an Eved Elokim. Keshehu kaifing umeshana teva shalei. One who it transforms and changes his nature.
Mila ain't a b'tzadik gamor, and this mila is not in a tzadik gamor.
Tzaddik doesn't have to go through these changes. So there's a virtue, a mila that comes from having to deal with the stiff skin, with the struggle, with the difficulties. Tzaddik doesn't have to have them. Doesn't have them.
But all day ha'avoda this skafia dafka is stala kikara the kucha brichu b'chulu alman.
This is a saying from the Zohar. The Zohar says that it's through iskafia, right? Iskafia, kaifa, the forcing of this, working the skins. That specifically is what causes the appearance, the bursting forth of the splendor of the Holy One, blessed be He, in all the worlds, changing your nature. When you change yourself, that's something, and that comes through sometimes through brute force, but it certainly comes through confronting limitations and subjugating them and bursting through them. Not transforming them yet. So this is the mila, the advantage of hiskafia over hiskafla, that it brings out a tremendous strength in a person, which a tzaddik doesn't have that opportunity.
Hamshachas v'gilui or shevichinas reminus. It's a continuation and a revelation of the light that's like exalted.
Yeah,
light.
the very highest light. It takes a lot of power to do this, right? It takes a lot of power to subjugate and take this hard crust of reality and break through it and let it shine the light that's in it.
V'chumavoyer barucha b'hemshech the yom ha'hilula, and it's clarified in depth in the hemshech of someone's passing, the day of someone's passing.
Yeah, this is the Frierdiker Rebbe's Basi Lagani.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mashal alze mimelech
Basi Radam.
basar adam shebishvil nitzchaim המלחמה הוא מבזבז es kol oitreisav.
So in the Basilagani, there's a metaphor, and we'll just read it what it says, of a king, a fleshly king, a human king, that for the sake of the victory, the Shvil and the Sochem, in the war, he brings out all of his treasures. And the Frierdiker Rebbe goes into it. These are treasures that have been accumulated by his father and his grandfather, the royal dynasties, from time immemorial, which generally are kept hidden down in the treasure house, in the locked up treasure house. But when it comes to the war, according to the severity of the war, is the amount of money and revelation of these treasures that you're going to have to spend. So when the obstruction is very deep, when the war is very difficult to win, you have to take up more armaments. So he mavazvas, he just throws them all out there to the troops so that they can win. So in other words, again, this is the metaphor that in order to subjugate, put down the enemy, you're not necessarily transforming the enemy into loving you. You're just winning the war. You have to, the more difficult the war, the more of you have to invest in the winning.
Right. Oh, okay.
And now we're going to go, I put it brackets, we're going to go to the next paragraph.
I should go. Okay. V'afal pizeh.
Al Pizeh.
V'al pizeh. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yuvan ma she's kiru yitzias Mitzrayim gam
Osid Lava.
l'asi lavoi.
According to what we just said, we will now come to understand why we have to remember the going out of Egypt even in the future. In the future, go ahead.
Yeah. After hagiluim delasi lavoi hem naalim yoser niflois mehagiluim shehu b'yitzias Mitzrayim. Ki mekevan sheham shachat. Okay.
See, even though the revelations of the future are much, much higher, the wonders, than the revelations that were in Yetzias Mitzrayim.
Ki mekevan sheham shachas b'chinas ha'oitzer hu dafka b'shvil nitzchaim ha'melchama.
So since the amount of treasure house that you have to bring out and draw into the battle is specifically in order to win the war, have a victory.
There won't be
future,
any war with our Yetzer.
Yeah, it's over. It's over, right?
So no.
So why are we still mentioning going out of Egypt?
Okay,
Right.
going.
Keep going. Forget that bracket.
Okay. Shahar v'es ruach hatuma avir min haaretz.
Right. In the future, there's not going to be a battle. The battle will have been won. The spirit of uncleanliness will pass away, leave the earth. That's what-
Lachin yazkiru yitzias Mitzrayim gam az.
So therefore, now what's the therefore? We're going to mention Yetzias Mitzrayim then. Why?
B'chdei sheyeh gam hamayla shebe'iskafia hamshachas b'chinas ha'oitzer.
Okay. So even then, when all the spirit of impurity is removed from the earth, we're still going to need to remember Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yetzias Mitzrayim was primarily Hiskafia. Remember, with Baruch Ha'am, we fled from there. We had to leave that behind, even though there's not going to be any negativity opposing us. We still have to do the avodah of Hiskafia.
וגם המשך הזו תהיה אז בתכלס הגילוי ככל העניינים דלעשי לא יכנף עוד מויריך?
Lo yechanef oed meirecho. And in the future, this Hiskafia that we're going to do in the future is, I'll just read the words and then I'll explain what he's after here. This drawing out of the power of Hiskafia will then be Oz, the Tachlis Agili, that Hiskafia power will be in a complete revelation, like all the things of the future. There will be no coverings anymore over the revelation of what things really are. And the expression is that the garment of your teacher will no longer cover. In other words, that there will be nothing hidden in terms of awareness of godliness. Right. So why do you need Hiskafia? So one of the reasons that you need Hiskafia is because, and this is an interesting idea, that even in the future when the Sitra Achra is not taking a place, we don't have that kind of battle. Sort of, it's like, I'll explain, like Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai in the Gemara. He was a Chacham, the Talmud Chacham, the Tana, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. And he said, as he was nearing the end of his life, I don't know which way they're going to lead me. And the question is asked, what do you mean you don't know which way? You've been studying, you've been learning Torah, you've done everything about your tzaddik. Okay, but when it comes to levels, when it comes to Kedusha, there are also levels in Kedusha. So, albeit everything will be in a manner of Kedusha, there are levels and levels and levels, because we're on an infinite progression to an infinity that we can never reach. Am I making any sense? Is anybody listening?
Sorry.
Did you hear what I said?
So what's the point?
That the point is that no matter that there are no interferences, those will be taken away. There are infinite levels that you can climb.
I'm meaning, if there's infinite levels, why are we even doing this?
No,
We
wait,
can't reach
hold
the end.
on.
You're giving up without even.
Right.
It's a whole other
Why
question.
even try?
Right.
What's
So-
the point? We can't get there. We're never gonna win.
The level that we were at before is
It's hopeless.
Thank you.
We're gonna lose.
Thank you, Dvorah.
guys. I hope you're all the program, you guys out there. But that's we can, if you want, we can take that question. But
Okay.
my question is not where I'm going. Relative to the level
Did I
of
hit the nail on the
relative to the
Yes.
level of kedusha that we have not yet discovered, this level that we're on is in Mitzrayim. Okay? So therefore, we're going to need to put that behind us, so to speak. Do you want to deal with that question? You guys hear the
I
question?
apologize, I missed it.
What is
The
it?
question why even
This
try?
question is if it's an infinite progression and you can never reach the end.
What's the
We're
point?
Then
always
what are we
leaving
doing
Mitzrayim.
What do you mean? I always ask this question, especially not just about the infinite progression. It's the fact that Hashem enjoys the struggle so much. Hashem gets so much nachas, and this is what we always learn. Like,
Yeah, but what-
so then what? I
yes.
mean, so then why would he want Mashiach to come? Like, what is the point of all this? Like, what's the deadline? What's the goal? What's the aim? How much more do we have to do? You know,
there is no deadline. There is no
Not like
there is
deadline,
no-
but there's
no end to it. By definition, it says Ein Sof.
Rabbi, what's
Wait,
the
one
point?
second. One second. In Lost Love, there's no pain. All that the pain is coming from the clippers. There's no pain. There's just more and more revelation of kedusha. And relatively speaking, the previous level of kedusha is in Mitzrayim in relation to the one that's going up. What's Hashem? Hashem doesn't want us. He's not into our pain. He's into the
Are
revelation.
you sure?
I don't think Hashem is a sadist.
pain is. He's saying that pain is a byproduct of the klippas, and the more you overcome those klippas, the less pain you'll actually have.
Like when you
Until
work, like
the
if you work out,
future-
if you're lifting weights, it's painful. But you get stronger.
But and in the future there will be
And you
no
have to start lifting
pain.
more.
Found ways around this. We can
Listen.
talk about it.
In the
What?
future there will be no pain.
Is
There
that a
will
good
be only
example?
progression from one level of light, of revelation, to another level of light. Right? So relatively speaking, the previous is a darkness to the next one. But it's only relative. It's not painful. It's not the kind of iskafia that we have now, where we have to iskafia the sitra achra. Right? The sitra ruach tulam avim el oretz we just learned. Avim and Or, the whole ruach of the spirit of the kedusha of the sitra will be gone. So what is there? In the language of Kabbalah, it's called layachad yehudim. Instead of mevaru berurim, which means to rectify things that are broken, which is the world that we're in now, it's liyachid yehudim, to create more and more unities. And just relatively speaking, the previous level of unity is a darkness in relation to the next. And why does he want that? Because he wants a dwelling place. He's infinite. He wants the infinite to be revealed. And in the physical world that we're living in, he doesn't want the world to revert to the way it was before it was creation, before there was any creation, in which state there was nothing but him. He wants something other than him, but he wants that something to not only, it isn't mainly about our experience, though we will experience something, it's that more and more of him will be revealed in a way that can be contained.
I had a personal revelation recently. I was learning.
Speak up a little louder.
I had a personal revelation about how, actually related to last week's. Was last week's parsha about the Mishkan? Whatever. That. Why does Hashem want a dir b'tachtonim? Can anybody answer that question?
Yes.
What's the answer? We don't know. It's an inexplicable desire. What?
Why?
He wants
the
me-
root of
Why
why?
does Hashem want to
The
do
root you
B'tachtonim?
can't. The
Why?
result you can't. Yeah, why? It's a taiva.
It's a taiva. If a taiva
Exactly. Okay, right. So what's a taiva? It's what's this inexplicable desire? It's why do you like chocolate over vanilla? I don't know. That's how I was created. That's just who I am, right?
Right.
When we tap into that inexplicable desire, someone is maybe it was you who was talking to me about it's the crown jewel on top of the crown, like you don't even need it. Maybe I don't remember who it was. Anyway, someone was explaining to me like, what is that? It's the kesser, right? It's above ratzon. It's like I don't even know why I'm going this direction, but I'm going to because I want to.
Because
to
it's
do
something
that.
in your
Because
essence that-
inexplicable desire is the phrase I
Yes.
use, which I think is very good.
It's extremely.
If you must say so yourself.
If I must-
It's good though. It's good.
I have a few things this week I'm very proud of myself for, but that's one of them. Anyway.
Okay.
This wisdom with age is a real
Yeah, I was gonna say now you're 32, so you're.
I know, Mama Bays. Anyway,
Go ahead.
so what's that inexplicable desire? It taps into Hashem's essence, to his kesser, to his the core being of who Hashem is, and inside of that is infinity, right? There's infinite, like that inexplicable desire is infinite, right? It
Yes.
can go till any degree. So the way I see it is that's very much connected to like Hashem doing mitzvahs, and that. Okay.
Slow down. Breathe.
When we're connected to
We
that,
have patience.
What?
We have patience here.
your patience. Okay, thank you. When we're connected to that infinity, that inexplicable desire, that kesser, that's so like infinite, we connect to that with doing a mitzvah and physicality. Why does that? And that's the whole concept of a dira b'tachtoinim, a physical place down here. When we tap into the infinitude, it refines what's down here, and that connects to Hashem's inexplicable desire and his Ein Sof and the Atmas and Mahus and like the whole essence of who he is doing this. Maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe it's so like duh, but it just kind of hit me that it's like that like the Ein Sof is that inexplicable desire. When we tap into that and we do it down here, that's where Hashem gets his kicks from.
You get his kicks from. That's
But what it is for us is it's tapping into that and it's refining us.
Sure.
Ultimately, that's what Hashem wants. Really, is to for us to be refined.
Absolutely.
Through an actual keys.
Right. John, I think
It made more sense when I was thinking about it before.
John.
I think it's good.
Bro, I love your passion.
Or maybe it's so like obvious. Like maybe this is what's said in Chassidus
It's
all
not
the
so.
time.
I mean, you said a couple of things I think worth just framing. That the root desire for this that Hashem wants a dwelling place in the lower world is totally inexplicable. As we said, that you don't ask questions on a tithe. Right? But that tithe, you also said, is rooted in the deepest, highest parts. You call it the kesser, right? And we've had many times a recapitulation of the truth that noitz, the chilasan, the seifa, and dafka.
Right.
The beginning is wedged in the end. So because the beginning is wedged in the end, it's the end where all of his focus is, in order to satisfy that, quote, taiva.
Right.
But the other most important, real important thing I think that you said, besides that, the first, that's all just technical, is that changes the game on planet Earth.
Right.
That changes the whole way in which human
It
beings
bounces
relate
back,
to
and
each
that
other.
infinite light just comes
Absolutely.
right back,
Yeah.
and it breaks through and it refines
Beautiful.
things.
So let's go on to the next page.
Just saying.
Why Zion? Why Zion? Maybe someone else would like to take it?
We have more readers.
We finished?
We have a lot of readers.
Oh, we did.
Go ahead.
And this is, I guess, the pasuk that we mentioned before. In the time of Mashiach, it will have the two advantages.
Just speak a little louder.
Yeah,
so
louder.
can hear you.
Hamala de Iskafia, ki meitzich meretz Yisrael, Hamala de Isabcha, Eren and Flois. We're going to have both advantages, the Iskafia and the Isabcha. We're continuing.
Yeah, continue. This goes right to the end.
Through our doings and our work in the time of Galus, that in general, the avodah that we do in the time of Galus is in a way of Mesiras Nefesh, of sacrifice, and higher than boundaries, higher than limitations.
Right.
שהרי בזמן הגולס ובפרט בעקבוס המשיחה יש מיינים ומעקבים וריב וניסיונות. Specifically in the time of Golus, there, and the time is like just just before the Mashiach is about to come, there is a higher level of obstacles and things and trials and tribulations. ועד להניסיון דלא יסייבש מפני אדם מפני בני אדם המליגים כל החשבונס.
Hello.
I'm sorry, maligim alav, until the test of not being embarrassed in front of anybody,
Embarrassed in front of the scoffers.
in
And they are
front of the scoffers.
and not being embarrassed in front of the people who scoff at you. Just while you're pausing, what are you explaining? You're explaining the notion of Mesiras Nefesh, right? Which is basically our history, right? I was just struck today. We were having a conversation about slavery. Because of partly because of what's going on in the world in terms of America has never finished really freeing the slaves.
Right.
Okay, so that was the topic of slavery, and the topic we're talking about is the difference between our coming out of Egypt and other people's coming out of various kinds of slaveries around the world. And one of the differences is that there was something about us. There is something about us. We never developed a slave mentality. We never looked upon ourselves as slaves. We've always been a Huron who were in bondage. And as a result of that, we've never, it's amazing to think of who has a right to complain about how we've been treated over the course of history more than the Jewish people, right? So the exiles have been longer, have been deeper, more brutal. 6 million of us, we don't even need to talk about this. Other slaveries were not so brutal and not so long-lasting, etc. So we have something in us, and I'm not embarrassed to say that this is very particularly a Jewish quality. Other people have it, but to the extent that we have Mesiras Nefesh, that we have the ability to totally give ourselves and our own self-interest away. So this is the function of coming out of exile, coming out of Egypt. Mesiras Nefesh, as he phrases it in
That's
modern.
a result of Yitzias Mitzrayim, is Mesiras Nefesh.
Yitzias Mitzrayim is, how do you get out of Egypt? By Mesiras Nefesh.
Would you
By
consider?
giving yourself away.
Sorry.
By
Would
giving yourself away.
Would you consider trauma and victim mentality as part of being in a gullus mentality?
Absolutely. But of course, you have to be really careful. You can't be flip about this.
Right. So.
You can't be
That's what I'm
flip
asking.
about it. No, but
But also, they say that trauma is genetic; it can be passed on through the bloodline.
No, that's why I say you can't be flip about this. I mean, some people's trauma may be, I'm putting inescapable.
To the extent that also the neshama remembers its own trauma from previous lifetimes.
Okay.
So in that case, it's even harder to get out of a gullus because it's compounded.
So one who does get out of that,
What?
So that explains a lot.
Yeah, well,
sure it explains
emotion
a
code
lot.
healing really helps.
It explains a lot. He's right.
What does it mean?
But let me just finish the sentence.
Neurofeedback.
That's but it's a notion, nevertheless, that we've been dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
The more difficult and strong the enemy is, the more the response should be breakthrough. But not everybody can do it, and not everybody.
But already it's a broken vessel. What do you mean breakthrough?
You have
You're already.
heal. You have to heal the broken vessel.
That's
And
everyone's
this
own
is all
personal
very
gullus.
Easy to say, right? Easy
Oh,
to say.
trust me.
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Trust all of us, I think.
I think anxiety, PTSD, all of that is
Sure.
rooted in all of this stuff.
Sure. I mean, we probably all know, unfortunately, people who are broken and who have not yet, I'm going to say, been able to get a handle on how to put the pieces together, right?
But what I also find interesting is that the Rebbe equates anxiety with incongruency.
With incongruency.
Incongruency
Could you explain that?
within being a Jew and not living a frum lifestyle, and it not being congruent with the neshama.
Yeah, well, ultimately, it isn't congruent because if you believe that everything is happening, there's no bad that comes from heaven, that Hashem is one, that Hashgacha Pratis is in everything, if you do that,
Trying not to block your
there's
phone.
no place for anxiety. Why would you be anxious?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me
So yeah, it's an example. What was the word you used?
But the
Aviva?
Jews have
Incongruency.
anxiety.
Incongruity. And anxiety is incongruent with true belief in Hashem. And Yetzias Mitzrayim is blasting that incongruity away.
Right.
Can you understand? Can you explain? I'm having difficulty understanding. What does it mean? After Yetzias Mitzrayim, where does Mesiras Nefesh fit in? After Yetzias Mitzrayim, we were enabled with that capability to have Mesiras to be Moiser Nefesh. That came after Yetzias Mitzrayim, or it precluded it.
The ability to be Mesiras Nefesh starts in Yetzias Mitzrayim.
What? I thought it was with Yitzchak.
Yitzchak. Go ahead.
Yitzchak.
Oh,
He was
okay,
Meister
Yitzchak.
Nefesh. Okay, it's Yitzchak.
I mean, Avram Avinu was also
Yeah.
Mesiras
Well, he
Nefesh,
jumped
right?
into the fire.
But when we left Egypt, there's a landmark here, right? That as a people, all of those individual activities that happened before, which became part of the general so-called DNA of who we were, crystallized at Yetzias Mitzrayim, and we all, 600,000 of us, had the experience of leaving behind spirit, in quotes, bondage, right? And what did we do with that?
So that enabled
What
us
did
to
we
have
do with
Mesiras Nefesh.
That enabled us, right? Because when we saw what happened to us. Remember, we have to. The big key here is Borach Ha'am. We fled. We were captive people in our souls. Hashem intervened, took us out, and we hadn't changed yet. We hadn't come to Mesiras Nefesh yet until Matan Torah. At Matan Torah, we said Nasa v'Nishma, but it was a process by which we internalized the reality of what Esther really was talking about before. That it's all happening by Hashem's will. Nothing is happening except what Hashem wants. Hashem has obviously something in store for us because He took us out. So it becomes kind of reasonable. Why shouldn't I give myself over to Him?
Oh, because Hashem let us out. So it's like,
Yeah, you see.
it's like a form of gratitude.
Can I give you an example from my?
Is it like a form of gratitude? Like
I'll give you an
give
example.
and take?
It comes to mind. I had a surgery a few years ago, and in that surgery I was near death.
Really?
Near death, and
Really?
You flatlined?
yeah.
What?
Yeah,
Wait, it
yeah.
it
Yes.
wasn't successful? Like,
Well,
I mean, he's
it's
alive.
not.
Well, he's not.
Don't you call this a
No,
success?
I'm saying why-
This is a success story.
why,
Hold on. Why?
why was it near death?
Well, I don't. Let's
Before
talk
the
about
surgery?
that offline, okay?
Okay,
I'll
fine.
be happy to talk to you.
Literally and figuratively.
But here's the point. Here's the point. It was flat.
That's not good.
And when I came up from the anesthesia, there was a nurse at the end of my bed, and she stared at me. I remember this, and she said, "God must have something in store for you."
You have to teach
So
Tuesday
I think,
Chassidus.
I'm just saying this, but I think that was the
Did you
experience
see the
of
light?
Yetzias Mitzrayim. Yeah.
Whoa.
Can you tell us about it?
No, but not now. I will.
After
Okay,
class,
after the share.
Esther.
Yeah, those who are watching, this is why you have to come and be here in person, because
Right,
then
it's-
when we're offline on Facebook, all the good stuff happens.
Okay.
The real deets.
But that's it. When we left Mitzrayim, through signs and wonders, there was no natural reason why we should get out, right? We had sunk to the 49th gate of impurity.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It wasn't our slus. It wasn't our Mesiras Nefesh, right? Although, wait a minute, I must say something. There was an initial sort of opening up the tziner of Mesiras Nefesh when Hashem told us to take the korban while we were still in Egypt and in the face
Right?
of the Egyptians to sacrifice it. That took a little
That's
bit.
doing
that
things
took
in
a
front of the
little bit
scoffers.
Huh?
That's exactly it. That's
Yeah,
doing
that's doing
things.
things in front of this guy. And that
Right.
takes a little bit of Mesiras Nefesh. To,
Yeah.
to risk your life for something.
It's much easier to do it when a whole group of people are in on it together. You know what I mean? Like if we all got in and we're like,
Yeah.
screw everybody else, we'll
But
just do our own
the
thing.
key to the Mesiras Nefesh
You
is
know?
the journey that took us to Nasa v'Nishma, where we said, ain't important what I think is important. What's important is that. And you want to know something? If that's the main important thing, everything becomes clear in me as well.
So then did Yetzias Mitzrayim kind of imbue us with Yiras Shamayim, like
Yeah.
in a very true sense?
Yeah, it said V'yira Gadol.
Just not for the Erev Rav.
Great, great fear and trembling.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Excellent.
that made us a Keli from Matan Torah.
And that made a case of
Yeah.
Kaylee, that opened the channel for Mesiras Nefesh.
Mesiras Nefesh is a prerequisite for being like Makabel.
Mesiras
With
Nefesh,
the good grand revelations.
Mesiras Nefesh is the
Being
prerequisite for everything that's godly.
Okay.
Because what you're doing is you're
Making
you're turning
space.
selfless. Remember the expression I was like from Mahatma Gandhi, Ahavdo, we always say Ahavdo. The way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others.
I was going to say that earlier, but I
You
didn't
know?
know. But
Yeah, well, that's it.
Yeah.
But it's not this little self. That little self that you want to protect and hide, and that everything should go your way. That's bondage. It's giving over to. I keep forgetting the word that you used. You're incongruent. That was your word, right? You're incongruent if you say, "I really believe in God, but I'm full of anxiety about everything that's happening here." There's an
Excuse me?
incongruence.
you know what I call that? I call that stepping into your light.
I feel seen right now.
I call that stepping into your light.
I feel seen.
Stepping into your life. Okay,
Your light.
your life. Stepping into your life.
The point that you were making originally is that essentially via Tzis Mitzrayim we received Mesiras Nefesh, and therefore we took on a different role, not as the victim role, but as the
Empowered
role.
victor.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool.
Okay, who's reading? Oh yeah, Ben, you're reading. Where are you reading?
We're just holding.
We talked about the scoffers, right?
Yeah.
Yafal B'Kein.
Like we don't keep that in our minds.
Yeah, we don't think about all that
We don't
stuff.
think about that. We just learn Torah and we're kind of mitzvahs without any calculations. To the extent that even the empty ones are full of mitzvahs like a rima.
Yeah, the Gemara says, right? Even one who's empty is full. Because there's another thing to just to bring to the table here. That quality that we have for Mesiras Nefesh is something that's built into our Nefesh Elokis. It's baked into the essence of who we are.
It's kind of like the opposite of generational trauma.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's on the positive end.
Yeah.
Generational breakthrough.
Ki'ilu.
Transgender, yeah.
Okay.
Transgenerational.
Trans.
Selective
I'm not-
hearing.
I'm not trans.
Next.
The Leidak Shem Mekayim mitzvahs, Elo Shem Malay mitzvahs. Not only that they fulfill the mitzvahs, but they're full of mitzvahs.
You see what he's after. It doesn't say that all the Jews are do the mitzvahs. First of all, we know that all the Jews don't. But every Jew is full of mitzvahs, meaning there's something essential in every Jewish
That they're
soul
able to have
to
Mesiras
be
Nefesh.
able to do Mesiras Nefesh.
Boom.
Yes.
Something essential in every Jewish soul to be able to do. Meaning the fact that they're Malaya is
But they're full. There's something full, filling me. Yeah, there's a power of Mesiras Nefesh filling every one of us.
Via this, we leave the Gullus with a great arsenal of mitzvahs, and a great arsenal of Torah. The Gam Talmud Torah he mitzvah. Learning Torah is also a mitzvah. But Adarabah, Hishkulu connected Kol mitzvahs. Torah is equivalent to all of the mitzvahs.
Just to tell you that learning Torah, when you're speaking about mitzvahs, so what's it got to do with Torah? Well, learning Torah is also a mitzvah, parenthetically.
Mekivan, Shazah, Harachush Gadol Torah mitzvahs, and because of this, the great rechush of Torah mitzvahs, Meisif Baschus Hareze Meisif the Zivuz Gambach Bachisheno. Zivuz Gambach
Isn't that the light?
You know what that's talking about? Achishena?
Achishena is something about Mashiach.
Mm-hmm.
Something about Mashiach, right. So it says, Mashiach can come in two ways. Be'itoi,
Yeah.
in his time, or Achishena more speedily. And what the Rebbe is saying here, that through our acting in ways of Mesiras Nefesh, working on breaking through our boundaries, Al Pi Torah, of course, that even adds something to the speed. It adds something to the speed. In other words, we can perform Torah mitzvahs, great. If we do Torah mitzvahs, that will lend an energy to Mashiach's coming quickly. But if we do Torah mitzvahs with Mesiras Nefesh, the way we're talking about it, right? I'm giving over myself, Mesiras Nefesh. Mesira, giving over, Nefesh, Nefesh is the lowest part of the soul. So that part of me that's connected with materiality, the part of me that's connected with the things in life that are bothering me, I'm giving that away and looking at the light of God that penetrates everything, that the hand of God is guiding everything. And when I do that, and I do mitzvahs like that, that speeds up the speed up.
Mm-hmm. In the matter of Achashana.
Yeah.
Ba'ifin the
Okay, then. No,
sorry.
sorry.
Ba'ifin the va'ere im
Anani
inani
Shemaya.
shemaya.
It's a pasuk in Daniel. I saw with the clouds of the heaven. And I saw. Now clouds refers to what we call in Kabbalah, because it is the makif,
Yeah.
the surrounding, all-encompassing levels. So Shemayim is a makif, and earth is the panimi. And so, as he said, this Achishen, and then he's using that as an example of what would it be like to have the experience of Mashiach right now. It would be like this, that we will see into the makif, the transcendent levels which are now hidden.
That's kind of what happened with Yetzias Mitzrayim anyway. It was with
Yeah.
Achishena. Like, it wasn't Achishena, but it was. It happened quickly. Like they literally had no time.
Right.
It was like happened like Keharafayin. It was like so quick.
Yeah.
They didn't have even a chance to think about what was going on.
No.
It was chaos.
They just
Actually,
were told, get inside the house, put the blood on the post, and bang.
next day they were gone. Like they were left in the middle of the night. No.
But again, this
Anybody
wasn't
have
through. This wasn't through a
memories from last
particularly.
year?
This wasn't through a particularly strong schus of our own. Although we did have the schus of the Korban Pesach, it was largely Bora. We had to flee because we still were captive by the negativity, even though Hashem had released us from it. But now we have the whole thousands of years of releasing ourselves from the negativity.
The situation with Mitzrayim was more of it was a necessity because of the Nuntas of Sharatuma. There was another minute we would have not necessarily because of the Torah
Right.
mitzvahs that were
We
done.
wouldn't have been able to leave.
Right, so then I have a question then. If Hashem took us out, hold on a minute, I forgot what I was going to ask.
Well, if you think
How,
of-
like, then how is, like, Mesiras Nefesh, like, Hashem took us out because we were in a really bad place.
He wants to save us. See, we have a mission.
I know,
right?
but I'm
and
saying,
we can't
like,
get lost in
but,
Egypt.
and he took us out, and he also gave us Mesiras Nefesh. It's like, where is our,
Mesiras Nefesh was built in from the beginning.
okay,
That's part of our neshama, right?
okay.
It's a unique, deep part of our
I
neshama.
forget what I was going to ask.
But we have to
but it was-
discover it,
It was
right?
like, what, like, how,
We have to discover it. We have to be given
Okay.
opportunities to utilize it.
Fine.
So, every day I think we have opportunities. Most of us. If you're any different from me, maybe you don't. Maybe every day is just beautiful, and I'm glad. And if it's so, you could teach me how that works.
you got to lose yourself in the service of others.
But I do know that works. That's for sure works.
Mhm.
Right.
To lose yourself in the service of others. And I particularly know it even more from the negative, that to the extent that one is preoccupied with the way it's supposed to be, you get all tied up in a knot.
Right. You can lose yourself in the service of others in the wrong way also.
Sure, you could be stepped on,
Mm-hmm.
used, etc.
Or investing your energies into the wrong place.
You got it.
That
Gotta
sucked
be
the life
careful.
out of you, and then you just don't know who you are anymore.
Gotta be careful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but in the future,
Sorry.
Va'ero'im ananei shemaya, I will see
Sound like, yeah,
with the
experience.
clouds of heaven. I saw with the clouds of heavens.
Speak from experience.
Have the gula speedily. Ifin the kimetzes of Eretz Yisrael, Eren of Fleis, Hainu, she obeys Hamaros. 2 miles.
Translate, please.
So Ifin the kimetzes of Eretz Yisrael, Eren of Fleis, Hainu she obeys Hamaros. Then in the times of Mashiach, the gula that we will have both the concept of the Mitzvahs Mitzrayim, which is the Mesiras Nefesh, right, and Eren of Fleis, which is the, in other words, the Eskafia and Ishapcha we said before.
Right. And by the way, before you go on, this answers your question, Levi,
Okay.
about what's the point. What's the point?
He's been waiting.
Right? No, we answered it, but this actually helps with the answer. It's going to be like going out of Egypt, right? Out in the flood. So there's a comparison, right? So what's going out of Egypt? Bondage to freedom, right? How does that apply in the future? Because any level of what's the word I'm looking for? Any level of perception and adhesion and dissolving into the one, since this one is infinite, is a Mitzrayim compared to the next level. You can see by the look on.
He's like,
so it's not conscious choices?
You're trying to get me, Rabbi. It's not working.
Right. Okay. But
Basically, you're never done.
That's the avoid of tzaddikim, liyachad Yehudim, to get stronger, deeper and
Why,
deeper.
but why
level.
would you even start? Why would you even start the avodah? What's the point?
What would you? Why would?
Right,
Because.
What's
Why? Because you are a Mesiris Nefesh Dika person who wait a minute, who
Oh.
wants to please God. Your whole life.
There you go.
So you're saying there is no
That's
choice.
you.
Your whole life is not about you. I mean, that's an interesting point. If you're focused on yourself, you could ask that question. Why bother? I'm happy with this. I'm in Gan Eden. And you know what I mean in the upper level of Gan Eden. And I may as well stay there because I love it here. But it ain't about you. It's about
The other guy.
Him,
Hashem.
God, what God wants.
Does
And you've learned
does
that
satisfy your...
down here on planet Earth tonight,
It's
and
not the
probably
answer you wanted to hear, but the answer you needed
in
to
other
hear.
No, I
sessions.
missed
you
this
probably
year,
also
by the way.
learned also.
I haven't
What?
been here in like over a year.
You haven't been here, so come more, man. Okay, so that's Kiyamed Sesef Mitzrayim. Just like in the days of Yitzhak Mitzrayim, when you had to do Hiskafia, right, and push back the idols of Mitzrayim, right, and you had to cultivate your innate Mesiris Nefesh. You're going to still be doing that, but it won't be about the negative and the idols. It'll be about higher levels of revelation.
מכיוון שהגאולה הוא על ידי מעשינו ועבודתנו בזמן הגלות, being that the Geula is via our actions and our work in the time of Galus, ובפרט, בעקבות the Mashiach, and it's literally translates the heel of Mashiach, right? And specifically, just on the cusp before Mashiach's arrival, לכן תהיה כימי tzedek me'eretz Mitzrayim, hamal yedei skafia. Therefore, we will have it like on the times of Yitzis Mitzrayim, the Mila of Iskafia. V'yachid im zeh yegam ha'rein neflois. Together with this, the Mila of the leaving the Galus of Mitzrayim, which is the concept of Iskafia.
Right. I will see wonders, but I won't. But there are greater wonders.
Gam ha'rein neflois, gam be'erech ha'neflois. The wonders that we'll see will be wonders even compared to the wonders that we saw. Wonders that we'll see in the times of Mashiach.
It's pretty clear. There are levels of wonders.
Yeah.
And seeing what wonders, you just don't just go to
I
sleep.
wonder what wonders.
Wonders of wonders.
I wonder.
I wonder what wonders.
Go ahead.
Meaning there'll be wonders even compared to the wonders on the time of Kriyas Yamsuf. That even in the times of Kriyas Yamsuf, the Guluyim were above and beyond. They were immense.
Right.
The Kol Echad Ve'echad Mare Be'etzboi V'amar Zeh Keli V'anveyu. That in the time of Kriyas Yamsuf, everybody with their finger was able to point and say, "This is Hashem." Hashem was visible. Va'ad Shetira.
Shirad Asa.
Va'ad Shirdasa.
Shifka.
Va'ad Shirdasa Shifcha Alayam Mashalei Nuvim. That even the maids were able to see in the sea what Nevi'im in later generations weren't able to see.
We were given a glimpse into deep levels.
Hine kol zeh haya al hayam. All that was in the sea.
His emphasis is al hayam.
On the sea.
Over the sea.
It
didn't penetrate, right? This was just a one-shot deal, right? It's the 2,000 years of work that bring it down into Panemius. This is al hayam.
Hine kol zeh haya al hayam. Meluvish b'chines malchus. It was all on the sea. Enclosed in the attribute of Malchus. Ubedugmas Hagili, the Yitzis Mitzrayim, Lifnei Kriyas Yamsuf, Shahaya al HaPesach, similar to the miracle or the miracle that took place by Yitzis Mitzrayim, that it was on, like by Kriyas Yamsuf it was al Hayam, by Yitzis Mitzrayim it was al HaPesach.
It was still on the doorpost.
On the doorpost.
Right? Didn't come into the house. Didn't get to Panemius yet. You got a glimpse of something, but not yet internalized.
Hagama Gili, the Kriyas Yamsuf Hayarak Lifi Sha'a. It was only temporarily, it was only for a certain period. By Kriyas Yamsuf. Ki Hagili Az Hayimitzad Milamaila Va'amata Loi Haya Keli Laza. Because the revelation then was Milamata. Oh, sorry, it was
The
Milamala.
revelation was only from above.
So therefore the mata there wasn't a vessel to fully.
Well, we hadn't yet cultivated the vessel to be able to contain
Well,
it.
also that changed by Matan Torah, no?
Yes.
The Bechlalos who in the Iskafia V'lo Yisabcha. The Gilbus Yisis Mitzrayim Sheba Ifin the Chidbarach Ha'am. So this was the concept of Iskafia, but not including Ishabcha. As in when the Yidden left Mitzrayim, it was like the nation had ran.
They had to flee.
They had fled.
We had to flee
They had to flee.
because we hadn't transformed anything. We just
Baruch
had to
Ha'am is to flee.
lock it
The
up.
people
Yeah, we
fled.
Baruch Ha'am,
Leave a
fled.
wall. To like run away.
Run away from
Yeah.
it.
Mikivan shezel lo ba mitzad avedis hamata, because it didn't come via the work being done down here. It was just a gilui, it was a skafia, but it didn't have the ishapcha, the turning over that would come from aveda lamata, like we're going to have in the times of Mashiach.
Right.
Amnam la'asid lave yirden and aflois, but in the times of Mashiach to come, there will be arden and aflois. Neflois gam be'ercha neflois shahay b'tzis Mitzrayim v'kiryas Yamsuf. Wonders even in relation to the wonders that were in the time of Yitzis Mitzrayim and Kiryas Yamsuf. She'agilu yiyeh b'li shum levush v'gam etzad ha'amata. The revelation will be without any, just a straight revelation, without being enclosed in anything, even in relation to us down here.
Not even. There's two things that are important about the Giluyim of the future. One, the characteristic of it. It won't have any garment. And also, that it was created specifically, I'm putting in the word specifically, Badafka, through our work.
V'gam etzad ha'amata, meaning that it came about because of the
work down here below.
Yachad im zeh yeh gam ha'mayla tikimei tzeisch meretz Mitzrayim v'mehira b'yameinu mamash b'vis Mashiach Tzidkeinu.
Amen.
Together with this,
Amen.
we will have, meaning mitzad mata, and also gam ha'mayla tikimei tzeisch meretz Mitzrayim, speedily in our days.
Amen.
Mashiach Tzidkeinu.
What were the points
Thank
he was
you.
making at the end? I didn't quite catch it. There was 2 points, something about on the water.
Oh. You
What
want
was,
to say?
what was he saying?
I can make an attempt, and you could let me know if
You can, I'm sure you got
In other words, the neflois, the wonders that took place by Yitzis Mitzrayim and then later by Kiryas Yamsuf, they all used the lashon by Pesach was al ha-Pesach. So it was, in other words, it wasn't enclosed down in here. It was on the door.
On
and
top of.
On
In,
top of.
by Yitzis,
By Yitzis Mitzrayim, it was al ha-Pesach. Like they put the
thing on
the
the
blood
door.
on the door. The key word being here being on.
And what's on the water? What is that?
And on the, in other words, they were able to see, even the shifcha, even a maid was able to take her finger and say, "Oh my God, there is God."
Literally, oh my God,
there is God. But it says that she was able to do that via looking on the water, not it wasn't enclosed within.
The revelation.
And so what's the point?
Well,
What's the point?
well, the revelation.
The time of Mashiach, Meretz Hashem, God willing, speedily in our days, the card of Mamash, it will not be. It won't be al anything. It will be
In. It'll be in the door, in the
rather
house.
than on, it will be in.
Malubash.
Yeah. We'll see inside the underbelly of the sea. We'll see in down
I'm not
there.
sure I want to go there, but if that's what it is.
Okay, so that's
Kind of
beautiful.
rough
Thank
up.
you guys.
Thank you.
We have a choice here, so we're not going to be learning next week. Next week is I'm out of town,
And also I am.
and I brought another piece, which is since we're going to be sitting at the table eating matzah. What's matzah have to do with everything we just talked about? However, an hour has passed. I'm going to leave it up to you guys.
Thank you.
What time?
What do you want to do?
What I would do now
What's
is go
matzah
on with
do?
what's matzah got to do with it.
Oh, I could burst into song with that. So.
What's matzah got to do with it?
Yeah. How long of a discussion is
As
that?
long as we want to, or sure. Look, we always leave. We always quit before or around 10 o'clock. So that's another half hour. But there's a natural break now. You want me to decide? Let's do it.
I'm gonna turn off Facebook and then
You
we'll.
turn off Facebook?
Yeah, I think we'll just keep it. Is it a
See
discussion
you
thing or
later,
it's like learning
sevens.
inside text?
It's the same one. We're always learning inside and discussing.
Okay. What does everybody
Liz,
say?
Anybody not want to do it?
Yo, let's bring.
Okay, let's do it. Or you want it for Brim? You don't want to learn.
I'd like to
Oh.
farbring on it.
Okay.
Let's
Guys
do it.
out there in Facebook land, this is an incentive for you to come to the table because you're not going to have
Bonus
any idea what's
round.
going
Bonus
on now.
round?
Bye.
Sorry. So let's just wish everybody
Kosher
a
friend.
kosher and freilich and Pesach.
Yes.
And let's just say one word about matzah.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about Mesiras Nefesh,
Yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Mesiras Nefesh. Mevataling, nullifying the ego. What is that expression that you said that Shei Staub likes to use?
Edging God out.
Edging God out. Our ego is edging God out. That's the chumetz. And bringing God in is flattening ourselves and giving ourselves over to lose yourself in the service of others. So
Okay.
something to keep in mind when we eat matzah, because in addition to being called Zman Chayrusanu, the whole holiday is called Chag HaMatzos.
Right.
A kosher and freilich and Pesach.
Okay.
Now the real party starts.
Yeah.